KJA Global Channel. The Political System and Me. Series 2, How the System Enters Everyday Life. E13, My Rights, Law, and Justice. There is a moment in every human life when you learn whether law is real. Not when you read a constitution. Not when you hear a speech. Not when you see a flag. You learn it when something goes wrong. When your land is threatened. When your child is harmed. When your wages are stolen. When you are accused of something you did not do. When you are detained. When your business is extorted. When you are discriminated against. When you are beaten, harassed, silenced, cheated, or humiliated. Then you discover the difference between a country that has laws and a country that has justice. The mechanism is already present in ordinary decisions, even when politics appears distant. Explain the rights to remedy chain and identify the law, institution, complaint process, hearing, remedy, and enforcement needed to make one right real. Some societies have law as decoration. Written words that do not protect living people. Some societies have law as weapon. Used against the weak and ignored for the powerful. Some societies have law as shield. Consistent, enforceable, trusted, and equal. Justice is the place where the political system becomes personal. If I am wronged, will the system defend me or will it abandon me? This episode is about rights, law, and justice, not as philosophy, but as daily reality. Because the political system is not truly defined by how it celebrates power, but by how it treats the powerless. A right is not a gift from a leader. A right is not a reward for loyalty. The right to be free from torture. The right to participate in governance. The right to life. The right to speak. The right to worship. The right to property. The right to fair trial. The right to education. The right to work with dignity. The right to equal treatment. The right to privacy. The system reveal is right, institution, remedy, and enforcement. Rights are dignity written into the system. Law is the architecture that turns values into protection. In plain language, the hidden mechanism is right, then institution, then remedy, then enforcement. Justice is the system's promise tested in real life, and dictatorships dress force in legal costume. Remedy must be reachable. A right with no accessible remedy is decoration. A right is not a privilege that can be withdrawn when power is offended. Human beings have inherent dignity. Rights are society's way of putting dignity into rules. But rights need more than words. They need institutions. Courts, police, oversight bodies, and procedures. They need culture. Citizens and officials who believe rights must be respected. Without these, rights remain poetry, beautiful words that cannot prevent suffering. Law is the architecture of society. Law is not primarily about punishment. Law exists to set limits, define duties, protect dignity, and ensure that no one, especially those in authority, is above the rules. In dictatorship, law does not restrain power. Power restrains law. There may be courts, police, constitutions, and legal codes. But the true rule is unwritten. Law is whatever protects the regime. Courts become tools for political punishment. Police protect rulers, not citizens. Investigations become selective. Trials become theater. Evidence becomes irrelevant when power has already decided. The powerful are immune. The poor and the dissenting are vulnerable. The hidden structure becomes traceable through the rights chain. Right or legitimate interest. Law or constitutional rule. Responsible institution. Complaint or review. Hearing and evidence. Remedy. Enforcement. Each arrow asks a different accountability question. Who authorized the decision? Who had the duty to act? What record should exist? And what institution can correct failure? A broken outcome may begin far upstream. The visible harm can come from an unjust rule, an unfunded institution, a hidden record, a captured oversight body, or a remedy that exists only on paper. The chain prevents us from reducing a system failure to one personality. It identifies the point where law, capacity, evidence, oversight, or enforcement stopped working. When citizens and professionals can locate that break, criticism becomes more accurate and reform becomes more practical. For this episode, the principal mechanism is right, institution, remedy, and enforcement. The production graphic must make every link readable on a phone screen and must label country-specific or proposed arrangements honestly. Under dictatorship, rights, law, and justice are shaped primarily by concentrated command. Information is restricted, institutions answer upward, and challenge may carry personal risk. In a fragile democracy, formal rules may exist while patronage, unequal capacity, corruption, politicization, or weak enforcement makes protection inconsistent. In a functioning federal democracy, authority is constitutionally distributed, common rights remain enforceable, and more than one institution can question, review, or correct harmful power. Elections or federal language do not substitute for functioning safeguards. The viewer should compare who decides, how authority was obtained, whether records are public, whether affected people participate, and whether enforceable remedy is available in practice. The constructive question is not merely what values we declare, but what institutions make rights, law, and justice reliable. The minimum guardrails are 1. Rights stated clearly in law. 2. Independent and impartial decision-makers. 3. Due process and equality before the law. 4. Legal aid and accessible complaint routes. 5. Enforceable remedy. These safeguards work as a system. A published rule without an independent reviewer can become theater. Oversight without records cannot see. Participation without safety can expose people. And a remedy without enforcement does not repair the harm. Global relevance. The institutional test for rights, law, and justice applies across political labels. Who decides? What limits power? What information is public? Who participates? And whether a real correction or remedy exists. Myanmar relevance. Apply the lesson on rights, law, and justice without treating one organization, community, or proposed arrangement as the whole country. Separate existing law and institutions from interim or aspirational designs. Here is the civic practice for this episode. See and ask. Learn 3 of your basic legal rights well enough to state them from memory. Verify. Examine one right in an applicable law or treaty and identify the actual institution and procedure responsible for remedy. ACT. Choose one right and draw its complete remedy ladder. Do not publicize a personal case without consent and legal or safety advice. Review. Record whether you can name the responsible institution, evidence, safeguard, or remedy, and one safe next step. Use only lawful, proportionate steps. Do not convert an educational exercise into a public accusation. Throughout, one principle recurs. Process is protection. Freedom without procedure is fragile. Justice without due process becomes revenge. Participation without rules becomes chaos. The chapters here are demanding precisely because they refuse the shortcut of slogans. They insist that a free society is not declared but engineered, and that the engineering is the work of citizens, not only of leaders. Treat this part as the blueprint room of the book. You do not need to memorize every beam. You need to understand how the building stands so that when someone tries to remove a wall, you will know what is at risk. The principle to carry forward is this. Rights are dignity written into the system. Law is the architecture that turns values into protection. Ask yourself, what part of rights, law, and access to justice have I treated as normal even though it should be visible, answerable, and correctable? Rights become real through remedies. In the next episode, we continue with my institutions, how accountability works. The system shapes our lives. Our participation shapes the system.
Subscribe.
Learn. Participate. Shape the future. KJA. Knowledge justifies authority.